Hey, this is Chris Goff, and in this tip of the week, I want to show you how our 10 executable step system works and why every investor must follow it. Now, REIPro was founded on the concept of walking an investor through 10 executable steps from start to paycheck. It's the physical things we do as investors laid out in a specific order. And I think the hardest thing for any new investor is what to do next. It's one thing to find a lead, and it's another to actually know what to do with that lead. And this is the beautiful thing about REIPro. So let's jump into it and review each step, because this is going to be the difference between doing deals or getting out of the business. All right, let's get started. So the very first thing that I want to do is go to our property section. And as I pull up my property section, I either have the property in here, which I'm already working, or I'm going to add a new property. So let's just say that maybe you were just driving the neighborhoods and you found this particular property that may be a deal. Maybe it was potentially vacant. Maybe it had a for sale by owner sign, a for rent by owner sign, whatever it may be. We're going to go ahead and add this property to the system. Also keep in mind that your property section is really designed for properties that you're actually working. So maybe I've sent out, a ton of direct mail. I've got a few calls back in, and now I'm going to add these properties to my property section. Then I'm going to start working these leads. The last thing you want to do is just kind of flood the entire system with a bunch of properties that you're not actually working. So keep that in mind. All right, so when you go into this property, now, obviously, you're going to see the basic information about the property, but the real key as we scroll down is this 10-flow work system. So if we physically can follow these steps from start to finish, it's going to help you get through the deal. And I think that's the most important thing, because how many people talk about doing real estate and how many people actually become successful at it? Very small amount of people, and it's because they don't know what to do. We're always the believer that, hey, we need to teach people how to walk through the deal, not necessarily just giving you a bunch of theory and what a strategy is. I think you could just Google that or go online. So when you get into this system, step one for me is really finding the property. So here we've added the property to the system, and this gives us an opportunity to check out some of the details from, who owns it. Is it owner occupied? Some basic information about the property. Again, whatever the tax assessor has in your county is what we're going to be displaying here in front of you. You can also check the tax information. Keep in mind that the land market value and the market improvement value and the total market value, that's an estimated value for the county, which then uses that value to set a tax amount on. So definitely want to keep in mind that that is not always the true value. Most of the time it is less than the current market value or what a buyer would actually pay for it. Any kind of mortgage information that we have, we're going to display that to you. This is really going to be great for, people that, number one, wholesaling. So if the mortgage is going to be higher or they owe more than what your offer is going to be, that a wholesale deal is not going to work. So you might have to change that strategy, maybe get into a lease option or a seller finance. This information right here, what we do with the loan amount is, here's the original loan amount that was taken out when they bought that property or when that loan was taken out. So again, this is going to be amortized over, the course of time. Transaction history, just so you can see what's happened or what's transpired previous to that. Again, comparable sales is really fine-tuning exactly what this property is worth. So it's going to give you that ballpark figure. Now, in the beginning, this is not really relevant to me because I need to talk to the owner. I need to actually find out their situation. I need to understand what numbers they're looking at, or are they even interested in selling at this point? So again, I don't really dig too deep into the number side of it, but I am curious to see, what some of the history is. Do they have a mortgage on it? What are those dollar amounts? It's going to help prepare me as I move into the next steps. Now, once we have this information, we have to contact the owner. We need to talk to somebody that's in charge here. So we can either do that by searching for a phone number, or we can send them direct mail. Obviously, if you've got the phone number, that's going to be the fastest, most efficient way to get a hold of people. If not, then you're going to have to send a direct mail piece. As you know, we do have a premium skip trace report where we can find their cell phone numbers, landline numbers, things of that nature, as well as a nearest relative report. So you definitely, if you find that one property, it's like, I keep driving by this property, it's still there vacant. Hey, maybe I just need to pick up the phone and call somebody. This would be where you would want to do that. When you do that, obviously you have your phone scripts here. So make sure that you're following. I would say these are the most basic questions that we need to have answers to in order to determine should we go look at the property or not? Because I remember in the beginning, I mean, if somebody said yes to anything, I was like, okay, can I come look at it? So I'd just, I'd be wasting so much time looking at properties where I really didn't qualify the seller very well. Definitely go through these questions. We do have custom phone scripts. So those of you that have been in the business and you've kind of perfected your own speech, this would be a great opportunity to go ahead and put those phone scripts and create those, not just for yourself, but if you have other people working with you, they can follow that same script as well. Now, if you do need to add this to direct mail for some reason, you don't have the phone number, you can do that right here. We do have a print letter here, and I use this a lot. So especially vacant properties, one of my favorite letters that we use is down here at the bottom. It's called the property owner letter. You could download this in a PDF. You could also download it in a Word document if you want to make any kind of changes to it. I would encourage you to use that particular letter. Couldn't tell you the amount of deals that we've done just using that simple letter. So now that we've talked to the owner, now it's time to evaluate that conversation. Is this a cash deal? Is this a terms deal? Is this a deal in general? Are they motivated? What's their situation? A lot of times you'll have sellers that say, yeah, I got to get rid of it. Here's what I want. But based on their situation, you may know, hey, they're probably going to accept a lot less because of the situation. My mom's health condition is deteriorating and I need to move. So that kind of situation is definitely going to create more motivation from the owner, even though you may have not have got or maybe not have read that all the way into the phone call. So we need to determine at this point, should we go look at it? If we do, obviously we need to schedule a time to go do that, and that's going to move us into step 3. You can print out a blank inspection form, fill out all the repair cost here. We do give you a few different resources as far as cost. Simple fact is that cost is different everywhere. We just don't rely on one company, and I know Home Depot is kind of one of those big companies out there, but a lot of times that we do rehabs, we don't use Home Depot. So we use a lot of local companies, and I think that's where you really need to fine tune exactly, what do things cost around here if you're looking to, rehab properties, if you're looking to wholesale properties. Definitely going to need to know this. From a creative financing strategy, such as lease option or seller financing, really not that important. The simple fact that you're most likely going to be looking at nicer homes and that are in nice neighborhoods, so not a lot of repairs. But again, you do need to fill this out. We're going to carry this number over into step 4, and that's what's going to help us make an offer. So one tip here is to really build the relationship while you're at the property. It's that moment of time where you get to see the owner face to face. Don't always talk about real estate, talk about something else, because it's really more about building the relationship. And if they trust you because of that, they're more likely to accept one of your offers. We're then going to go back, we're going to fine tune. Again, we have comparable sales again in step 4 as well. And we encourage you to fine tune what this after repaired value is going to be based on all of the home sales in your area. And again, this also includes all MLS comps as well. So, and this doesn't matter if you're in a non-disclosure state or not. So we're going to go through offers. So is this a cash deal? So a cash offer is not you physically taking dollar bills out of your pocket. It just means we're going to pay the seller in one lump sum. Now, if you're working the wholesaling business, you have to follow this formula. If you're working the fix and flip business, you have to follow this formula. Other than that, it's called a terms deal. And that's where we're going to get into lease options and seller financing. Now, there's like 30 different ways to seller finance a home. And I know a lot of people are confused about, what can I sub to it? Well, sub to is not a strategy. It's called seller finance. A sub to is nothing more than a statement that goes in a wraparound agreement if there's a mortgage on the property. So it's not really a strategy. The strategy behind that is called seller financing. Now, we're going to make multiple offers, and I love making multiple offers, and this is where we saw our acceptance ratio go up 60%. You think about it, if you give the seller 3 different offers, a cash offer, a lease option offer, and a seller finance offer, it's kind of hard to say no to all 3, and it almost makes the owner feel that they have to pick one, and they fail to realize they didn't have to pick any of them. And this is where our acceptance ratio went through the roof. So definitely encourage you, anytime you can make a multiple offer, you definitely need to do that. Step 5, so once they accept the offer, we're then put that under the appropriate contract. Now, if you're seller financing, we do not provide seller finance agreements. The simple fact of the matter is that you need to have an attorney do it. There are numerous documents that are included with seller financing, and at the end of the day, the attorney's going to need to draw up the deed anyway. So, and each of the seller finance deals are going to be unique in its own way. So you definitely want to have a real estate attorney do all seller finance agreements. Next, we move into step 6, and this is more of just kind of protecting yourself through the deal. And it's what we call an affidavit, and it's a single piece of paper. You can print this right here. You don't even need the seller to sign this, and that's the beauty of it. You are basically saying, I, Chris Goff, swear to the world that I have this property under contract. If you need any other information, you can contact me here. So what this does is we're going to go file this at the county. So this is going to go down in the county records. And if the seller were to go around your back and say, hey, you know, I could probably get a better deal from this other investor, and they end up signing a contract, well, if they go to closing, the very first thing they're going to do is what's called a title search. And guess what's going to pop up in that title search? That's right, that affidavit. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to close this deal because you already have a contract on it. Now, this would be considered a breach of contract by the seller. You could sue them or work out some type of arrangement where maybe you get some funds at the closing. So it's there to protect you. So definitely encourage you. Now that we have that, we need a buyer, right? So depending on what type of deal you structured and what our exit strategies are, we'll definitely determine what kind of buyer. And the one thing that we really wanted to put is one of the first things we put into REIPro was to be able to create a nice ad. So I get it. A lot of people getting into real estate, they're just trying to learn real estate. They're not marketing experts. So we had our marketing expert come in here and actually simplify this process for you. So again, depending on what type of ad, all you have to do is just do some generic drop downs. You could also input your own stuff. And once you're done, you could hit save print. I can now take this ad, put it in Zillow. I could create a flyer. I could put it online, put it in Craigslist, and a lot of different uses of that particular ad. Now, if you already have buyers, great. We can actually email our own buyers right through the system here. So now that we have a potential buyer interested in the property, we need to put it under contract with the buyer. So now, depending on what your exit strategy is, will depend on the contract that you're going to use. And then closing. So if we're doing a cash deal, we need to use a title company or attorney. We're just giving you about, I think we have roughly 15,000 throughout the U.S. If you're just getting started, this might be a great place to find that, title company or local attorney. You could also obviously ask any kind of local agents, call the title companies, Google them as well. Step 10 is the payday. So again, we are now officially finally closed the deal. And what we've done here it sounds simple as I talk about it, but you're actually walking through the physical things that we have to do. Now you have to get good at these, right? So you got to get good at your phone call. You got to negotiate. You got to understand the multiple offer system. And that's why we do have a lot of training videos where we go a little bit more in depth into these particular videos. Now, here's the thing. It's not something I want you to do or you should do. You have to know how to do this. If you're going to be in real estate, you have to do this. Every investor goes through these fundamental steps from start to finish. You can't just find the deal and then just immediately put it under contract. You're going to have to talk to someone. You're going to have to look at the property. You're going to have to run numbers. You have to do things in a specific order. And this is what really broke down the walls, I think, for so many people and why we have such a massive following of people. It's because of our 10 executable steps system. So I hope that helped clarify the general purpose of this. And again, encourage you to really get in there, start learning each particular step, and you will find these 10 steps underneath any property that you're actually working that is saved to REIPro. So anyways, look forward to seeing you on the next tip of the week.